The story begins with a boy named Eric, whose horse had become terribly injured after getting caught in barbed wire. Eric desperately tried to free his horse, but the wires were buried so deep that while struggling to rescue it, Eric himself got badly wounded. Despite all his efforts, he couldn't save the horse, a loss that left him deeply heartbroken. 15 years later, we see Eric again, now grown up but ruined by addiction. He's a drug addict living under police supervision. Then, the scene shifts to a girl named Shelley, who receives a message from her friend Jade. When Shelley opens the attached video, she is horrified. The footage contained evidence of a murder committed by a man named Vincent. Jade wanted to expose his crimes and take revenge by revealing his truth to everyone. However, for now, Jade warned Shelley to leave the city immediately and avoid meeting or talking to anyone, as it was no longer safe. But as soon as Jade arrived at her apartment, a group of people caught her. Marion, a woman working for Vincent, snatched Jade's phone and checked who she had spoken to last. Now Shelley's life was also in danger. Realizing this, Shelley called her friend Dom for help and quickly left her house to escape. A short while later, she noticed a man following her, and in her attempt to run away, she accidentally bumped into some police officers, dropping all her belongings on the ground. The officers helped her pick them up until they noticed drugs among her things. They immediately arrested Shelley for carrying illegal substances. The quantity was small, so instead of prison, she was sent to a rehabilitation center for recovery. Meanwhile, we see Eric, who by now had completely grown up. His childhood had been destroyed by his alcoholic mother, pushing him deeper into addiction. He had attempted suicide several times, yet somehow survived each time. In rehab, other patients bullied him constantly, but Eric never retaliated. Compared to the pain he'd already endured, this was nothing. One night, he tried to take his own life again, but just as he was about to, he saw Shelley. In a single glance, he felt a strange connection, something that made him cancel his suicide plan that night. Meanwhile, Vincent, the same man behind Jade's murder evidence, is shown as the owner of an opera house, a perfect cover to hide his true identity while running his criminal operations. Marion informed him that they had found the girl. Vincent left his show mid-performance to meet Jade and interrogated her about where her friends were hiding. Jade, terrified, insisted she didn't know. Vincent told her coldly that over the past 100 years, he had killed countless girls like her. Not because he wanted to, but because he believed he was doing the work of punishing evil people, murderers, rapists, thieves, those destined for hell anyway. But he also revealed his dark truth. He had made a pact with the devil, so his own soul would never go to hell. Instead, he sent innocent souls there in his place. Jade begged for mercy, but Vincent whispered strange words in her ear. Suddenly, Jade's body froze. She lost control of herself, picked up a sharp object, and slit her own throat, dying in a horrific way. Vincent then placed his hand on her head, murmured another incantation, and sent her soul straight to hell. Unaware of all this, Shelley felt safe inside the rehab center. One day, she noticed Eric and went to sit beside him. Male and female patients were not allowed to talk, but they secretly began to communicate, realizing that they could be good friends. The rehab rules were strict, so they would only exchange glances and gestures whenever they could. One day, Shelley sneaked past the guards into Eric's room where she saw beautiful drawings on the wall, all made by Eric. She loved them and asked if she could keep one. While talking, her eyes fell on Eric's arms covered with scars from blades, reminders of his many suicide attempts. As they talked, an announcement suddenly came over the speaker. Visitor for patient 105. Eric looks up and realizes that patient number 105 is Shelley's number. But Shelley tells him that she doesn't even belong to this city. No one here knows her. Eric says, "Don't worry, I'll see who it is." He then spots a few people and mistakes them for lawyers. But Shelley looks closer and is horrified to see that her mother, Marion, has come along with them to take her away. Terrified, she begs Eric to hide her. Eric knows that as long as they both have trackers on their ankles, hiding won't help for long. Still, he leads Shelley into the laundry room, and through a vent, they manage to crawl out to the ground area. Before the security guards can react, they jump over the fence and escape. They get a ride from someone and make it back into the city. Shelley takes Eric to an empty apartment owned by one of her friends, but she knows that staying with her is unsafe for him, so she asks him to leave. Eric, however, refuses to abandon her like that. Fearing they'll be caught, they don't step outside for several days, staying locked in the apartment. During that time, they open up to each other, sharing stories from their pasts, the good and the bad. Their closeness deepens, and both start taking even more drugs, losing awareness of the danger hovering over them. Meanwhile, some locals discover Jade's dead body floating in the water. They inform the police, but the police are on Vincent's payroll. When the news reaches Vincent, he orders Marion to find that girl and kill her immediately, warning that if the video ever leaks, everyone will know his true identity. Unaware of all this, Shelley and Eric continue living in their small world of freedom and drugs. They go camping in the woods, and Shelley seems to have completely forgotten her past. Music was her passion. One night she plays the piano beautifully, but midway through something dark flashes in her mind, a memory so painful that it reminds her why she turned to drugs in the first place. She tells Eric that when she was a child, her mother forced her into horrible things for money, things she hated. Shelley admits she has hurt many people, but doesn't reveal what exactly she did. Afraid that once Eric knows the truth, he'll leave her too. Eric gently comforts her, saying, "The night I met you, I was going to kill myself, but meeting you changed my mind." He promises never to leave her, ever. They hug tightly. Later, Shelley takes him to a dance club where they take even more drugs and lose themselves in the music. But as they dance, Shelley's friend Dom spots her. He rushes to her, telling her they have to leave immediately, but Shelley is so high she can barely stand. That's when she learns the shocking truth. Jade has been murdered, and now those people are after her too. Eric asks, "Who was that guy?" Shelley promises to explain everything once they reach home, but the real nightmare is already waiting for them there. As soon as they enter the apartment, Vincent's men attack. Eric watches in horror as they torture and kill Shelley right in front of him. Moments later, Eric too is shot and collapses. He believes he's dead, but suddenly his eyes open and he finds himself sinking underwater. He sees Shelley drifting deeper into the darkness and tries to save her, but she keeps sinking. Overwhelmed by panic, Eric swims up to the surface, gasping for air, realizing that somehow he's still alive. Then he notices a strange man standing nearby, motioning for him to follow. Eric assumes it's just a hallucination, a side effect of the drugs, because what he's seeing feels like another world entirely. Barren land, silent and lifeless, filled only with the cawing of crows echoing in the emptiness. Eric asks, "Where am I? What is this place?" The man replies, "My name is Kronos, and you are exactly where you're meant to be. Whenever someone dies, these crows guide their soul to its proper place. But sometimes, when a person's death is too brutal, their soul never finds peace." Eric can't understand any of it. Convinced it's a nightmare, he starts to walk away, but the place seems endless with no exit in sight. Frustrated, he yells, "To hell with this! None of this is real. Stay away from me." Kronos looks at him and says calmly, "It seems you still don't understand," then shoves Eric, sending him spiraling back into his own world. Eric wakes up in the same apartment where he died. He calls out Shelley's name, but there's no answer. Suddenly, he hears footsteps outside and quickly hides. It's one of Vincent's men, who has come to retrieve Shelley's phone. The man calls out, "You don't need to hide. Come out. I'm a police officer." Eric, unaware of the trap, believes him and steps forward, explaining everything that happened. But before he can finish, the officer shoots him. The man goes back to searching for the phone, assuming Eric is dead. But somehow, Eric survives again. Bleeding heavily, he gets up and fights back. A violent struggle follows, and after a fierce brawl, Eric kills the man, but his condition is terrible. A knife is stuck deep in his abdomen, and his intestines are spilling out. Screaming in pain, Eric pushes them back in, and then watches in disbelief as his wounds begin to heal on their own. Kronos' voice still echoed in Eric's head as he noticed a crow following him relentlessly. A short way on, Eric saw Shelley standing on the bridge. He dove into the water to save her, but the moment his skin touched the water, he was back beside Kronos again. Eric realized the terrible truth. Shelley was dead. Both of them were dead. He demanded to know why Shelley wasn't with him. Kronos told him Shelley was in hell, and that Eric could bring her back if he wished. The people who killed them were not from his world. They had made a pact with the devil. By sending innocent souls to hell, they had upset the balance, and Eric alone could set it right. Kronos told him to kill them all, and his life would be returned. Those supernatural powers would remain with him as long as the love between Eric and Shelley stayed true. Eric would not die, though he would feel pain when wounded. With that, Kronos shoved him, and Eric was hurled back into his world. First, Eric went to a friend and bought some weapons. Meanwhile, Shelley's mother, Sophia, had just returned from burying her daughter. Unaware that Eric was hiding in a car nearby waiting for her, Eric confronted Sophia. Why was she helping the people who murdered her daughter? What was she hiding? Sophia lied and said Shelley died of a drug overdose. Eric told her to stop lying. He'd been there when they killed Shelley. He warned he would kill everyone involved, even if it meant killing Sophia herself. Then Eric went into Shelley's room and found some old photos and an entry pass for an opera house. On his way out, he ran into the same man who had tried to kill him before. The man sneered, "I already killed you. How are you alive?" Eric pressed a gun to the man's head, demanding names and addresses of the others. The man slyly reached for his weapon. Eric's attention flicked just in time, and he shot the man dead. Before Eric could do anything else, he saw Marion walking out of the opera house. Without thinking, Eric stepped into the street and fired at her. The bullet struck the glass and failed to pass through. Marion survived. Eric chased after her car trying to kill her, but Marion's bodyguards threw themselves between him and their boss, protecting her at any cost. They repeatedly tried to grab him and, in the struggle, pushed Eric off the moving car. A truck ran over him. Everyone assumed he was dead, but Eric's healing power stitched him back together. The pain, however, was unbearable. Meanwhile, Vincent visited Sophia. She told him Shelley's body had been buried and sobbed that Vincent had promised to bring her daughter back to life. Vincent coldly told her to stop the theatrics. She had made the bargain herself. She was responsible for what happened. Sophia had become useless to him. Vincent walked away, and Sophia, broken, committed suicide by jumping from the roof. Vincent learned that the boy he'd tried to kill was somehow alive again, so he ordered his men to capture Eric alive. Eric began to piece things together. He tracked down Shelley's best friend Dom, who was planning to flee that night. Eric suspected Dom had been the one who brought those thugs to the club. Through questioning, Eric discovered the true mastermind, Vincent. Dom explained how Vincent penetrated people's minds, unleashed the demons inside them, and forced them to commit awful deeds. Eric also learned the whole thing hinged on a single video, and he burned to know what was in it. He rushed to Shelley's apartment and, with a crow circling above him as if watching, searched every corner until he found a phone. When he played the video, it showed Shelley playing the piano. Everything seemed normal, until suddenly, she stood up and violently murdered a girl who had been sitting nearby. Eric was stunned and devastated. The footage made him think Shelley was a killer like the rest. He returned to the friend who had helped him before and blurted, "Now I know why they killed her. Shelley did something terrible. Something I can't forgive. I can't keep doing this." At least she should have told me. His friend asked a blunt question. If Shelley had told you the whole truth, would you still love her? The two argued over it. Before they could resolve anything, Vincent's men arrived. Eric tried to flee but was set upon and brutally beaten. They shot his friend dead. Eric fought back, but one of them fired into his chest, and then the passage cuts off. A hole had been torn open in his body. Eric thought he would heal, but this time his powers were gone. In his world, he died, and when his eyes opened again, he was back in the other realm. He asked, "Why am I here again?" Kronos answered, "Because you didn't learn the truth. I told you your love must be pure. Your healing power left because you failed your task and doubted Shelley's love. You were given godlike power, but you turned out to be just an ordinary boy. You were given one chance and you wasted it. You can have your life back, but you must forget her." Eric refused. He said he loved Shelley truly and was ready to take her place in hell. Kronos sneered, "Do you even know what you're saying? Her soul is damned. Where she's going, you can't even imagine. Even if you saved her, you could never live with her again." Still, Eric made his choice. At that moment, a murder of crows surrounded him. One of them, Kronos himself, embodied, plunged straight into Eric's body. Kronos said, "Your wish is granted. There's no going back now." Then, mixing his blood with Eric's, he repeated certain rites over and over. Eric's body began to transform. He suffered excruciating pain. Soon his blood turned black, and he gained the power to travel between both worlds. He was given another chance to kill Vincent. Eric returned to his dead body. His wounds healed on their own. Then he slaughtered every man in sight with savage ruthlessness. From one corpse, he snatched a phone and read a message. Marion was coming to the opera house. Now, with these powers, he was immortal, but the Eric who had once been inside was gone. He picked up a sharp sword and set off to kill Vincent. When Marion learned the thugs sent to kill Eric had never been heard from again, she immediately tightened security at the opera and stationed guards to prevent anyone entering. The guards had no idea what, or who, awaited them. As soon as Eric entered, he slaughtered them one by one. Anyone who tried to stop him, he tore apart. Swords, knives, and bullets did nothing more than hurt him briefly. They could not stop him. In no time, the floor was a mound of bodies. Even the guards kept coming, as if they no longer feared for their lives. When Marion realized Eric had reached the building, she sent even more people. They all attacked him together, but they couldn't harm him. He crushed their skulls and kept moving forward. A hail of bullets raked his body. He was riddled with holes, but his wounds healed so quickly that they couldn't stop him. During the fight, a man plunged a sword right through Eric and grabbed him. In that instant, Eric shot himself. The bullet passed through him and struck the man who'd seized him. It was clear he no longer controlled himself. He wouldn't stop. Then he reached Marion. Her bodyguard opened fire on Eric, but when the guard realized he could not stop him, he tried to commit suicide. Eric wouldn't allow it. He wanted to kill them himself. Eric snapped the guard's neck, held his severed head, and walked up to Marion. Terrified, Marion confessed everything about Vincent. Eric then cut her throat and tossed her body among the audience in the middle of the ongoing show. Chaos exploded in the hall. Eric picked up flowers from the stage and took them to the same bridge where Shelley had first professed her love to him. After that, he went to Vincent. Inside, he found no guard, no security. Eric put his sword to Vincent's throat and told him to turn. Vincent wasn't afraid. He even sliced his own hand to show Eric that he, too, was just a human. "I've heard you plan to bring her back," he said. "Where she is, there's no return. You must have seen the video. Don't pretend you don't understand what she did." Eric answered, It wasn't her fault. You forced her to do it, Vincent replied. Only those who want to be led will be led. I only planted the seed. Look at yourself. See what you've become. Why would she want to stay with you? With those words, Vincent tricked him and slyly handed Eric a knife. And it turned out that it had all been Vincent's trap. He quickly mixed his own blood with Eric's, and instantly Eric began to weaken. Then Vincent whispered dark words into his ear, the same cursed incantation once given to him by the devil. And Eric's black powers started flowing out of him and into Vincent's body. Before long, Vincent's blood also turned black, and he became immortal too. He began pulling Eric's painful memories from deep within, feeding on his torment, nearly consuming his very soul. But before Vincent could finish, Eric grabbed him and teleported both of them into the other world, the afterlife itself. Vincent had arrived in the realm of the dead without dying, and because of all the evil he had committed, the moment even a single drop of his blood touched the ground, hordes of demons from hell rose up from the depths. Vincent laughed bitterly and said, "All this for that worthless girl?" Hearing those words, Eric went berserk, striking Vincent again and again with unrelenting fury. "Don't you dare call her that!" he shouted, his rage echoing through the burning darkness. Vincent sneered through the blood and said, "And now what will you do? You have no idea what's coming for you." But Eric didn't care what would happen to him. He dragged Vincent to the edge of the fiery pit and threw him to the demons, watching as they tore him apart, screaming, clawing, and pulling him down into the abyss. Vincent was gone forever, and with his death, the balance between heaven and hell was finally restored. As promised, Shelley's soul was released from hell. She appeared before Eric, confused and trembling. "Eric, I had a terrible dream," she whispered. Eric smiled softly and said, "It's over now. Everything will be fine. But you have to go back. I can't come with you. I made a deal." Shelley looked at him, tears in her eyes. "What deal?" she asked. But before she could understand, her soul began to fade, returning to the world of the living. In the next moment, we see Shelley awaken in her world. Kronos was standing before her. He told her gently, "Eric sacrificed himself for you." Shelley turned and saw Eric's lifeless body lying beside her. Overcome with grief, she broke down, remembering every precious moment she had shared with him, the laughter, the music, the promise. Meanwhile, in the other realm, Eric had now taken Kronos' place. He accepted his destiny, guarding the line between the living and the dead, watching over lost souls as the new keeper of balance. He knew he would have to stay there until another took his place. But in his heart, he believed that one day they would meet again. And with that, this haunting and emotional tale finally comes to an end. A story of love, sacrifice, and redemption that even death could not destroy. So friends, what are your thoughts on this haunting yet powerful story? If you were in Eric's place, would you have sacrificed everything for love too? Tell me in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts. And if this dark, emotional tale touched your heart, make sure to smash that like button. Let's aim for 500 likes to honor Eric and Shelley's unforgettable journey. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, because many more thrilling and emotional stories are on the way.